Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of Bite Size Bish. Today's Bite Size Bish is going to be a pep talk. Get in, losers, we're going healing. Also, you're not losers. That's a reference from Mean Girls for those who didn't get it, but get in, friends, we're going healing. Because your Bish is here to give you a pep talk. I had to give myself a pep talk last week, and that, in addition to some good news that I received, and also the fact that seasonal affective disorder has been exorcised from my body like a demon, has helped significantly. Because every year I prepare for seasonal depression on top of my just regular old run-of-the-mill depression. And every winter it's horrible. And I forget that it's not permanent and it's going to go away. Here where I live in Northeast PA, it's very cold and very gray in the winter, which for me and my mental health truly makes the biggest difference. When I don't see the sun for months at a time, it's wild. I had a lot go on last week. And so, A, what I'm here to do is give you an update, as promised. B, to share some of the insights that I've learned while riding on the struggle bus for the past couple months. And the third is to talk about the ways that I am actively resisting, just all of it, all of the hate, the anger, the divisiveness, the greatest act of resistance is radical self-care. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Last week, I had an appointment. Well, I had several appointments. My oncologist, the long and the short of it is that my oncologist said a couple of things about the NIH funding cuts. Number one is that the cuts that are being made were proposed after checks were already cut and contracts were already fulfilled. So I don't exactly know what that timeline is, but the cuts will take effect in the future. And I don't know. I mean, it could be a month. I have no idea. I don't know what that pattern is of government funding and all of that. That would probably be a question for Mandy, which I'll have to remind myself to ask her next time we have an M&M hour. But for now, there has been so much medical research and technology when it comes to blood cancer that even in the last year, there were several new medications that were approved that I could go on, and I didn't even know that. So as of 2 years ago, what I'm on now was the newest medical technology. But like I said, because there has just been leaps and bounds with medical technology, there are several options for me. And so that renewed, faith and hope. And it certainly for me with my PTSD, with my complex PTSD, the thing that it does is it just makes me feel fearful for my life. And so to have some hope and faith restored has been great. It does still have the potential, these cuts, it does still have the potential to interrupt future research, but the reason why I'm disregarding that right now is because for me, there are options for at least the next decade or two. And so part of what I've learned in the last couple weeks is that I have too much empathy for my own good. It's something that I almost wish I could get removed. I think they call that a lobotomy. But I feel for me that I've learned how to manage by truly giving myself self-compassion and focusing on myself. And it's not that I don't care about other people. I'm just not letting myself drown in the pity pool. That's what I call it for me. My pity pool is when, life is unfair. I'm feeling really frustrated. I'm feeling mistreated, misunderstood, unsafe. And I just get angry and I get frustrated because all of those things are valid. But what I do with it is I just say, well, this isn't fair. Why is this my life? And then I jump in the pity pool and I just float there. And I'm just, life isn't fair. And the reason why I'm making fun of myself is because the thing with a pity pool is we're allowed to take a swim because all humans do that, right? We all need to take a swim, but you have to get out before you get pruny because what happens is it starts to prune your brain and make you feel that somehow like I'm not special. Let me be clear. I am not special. Life isn't, no one ever said it was supposed to be fair. And everyone has issues. I am not special in that. Having a chronic incurable cancer is scary, but it does not make me special. There are people who are going through things listening to this right now. Some of you all who are going through very serious, very important things, right? And so I think number one, getting out of the pity pool forces me to say, okay, let's, put on our big girl pants. And now this is not to be confused with toxic positivity. Okay, so toxic positivity says, I'm going to pull myself out of the pity pool without processing any of that and just say, well, other people have it worse. That is not what I'm talking about. That is toxic. That is not healthy. No, I felt my feelings for the last couple of months. I processed them in therapy. I've done all these things to acknowledge, okay, here's why I feel this grief. Here's why I feel the self pity. Here's why I feel this. And then when I'm authentically ready, I pull myself out of the pool and I say, okay, it's time to put on our big girl pants and move forward. So I hope everyone listening to this understands that the difference because it is very nuanced. And it is the difference between, I believe, long-term happiness and the other way of toxic positivity, it really just serves to kind of undermine our power and authority because it says, well, you can't cope with that. You can't manage this. So we're just going to take a bridge over healing and we're going to have that bridge drop us off at toxic positivity. Being honest, this is where Shep lives. And this is why Shep is, I believe, the way that he is. Goes into his pity pool. He gets his brain all pruny and he just thinks that he's really special or different or unique. And he isn't. Quite the opposite, actually. Well, but that's a whole other thing. So going back to the updates is that the good news is that for me, with my health issues, there are options. And that has renewed my faith and hope and taken away that complete terror and life threatening piece that I've felt. And so once my safety was put back into place, then I was able to process all these feelings, talk about that in therapy, and then give myself a pep talk and pull myself out of the pity pool. Although that is good news. My oncologist talked about how when I was 17 and I was going through ovarian cancer, two of the chemotherapies that I was on were two of the most toxic treatments out there. In fact, I will tell you what they are for anyone who's gone through chemotherapy: Taxol and cisplatin. And cisplatin and the platins in general research has shown they have led to neurotoxicity in patients long term. So, for example, my hearing has been impacted because the cisplatin attacked my auditory nerve and kind of fried it. And so, what my oncologist said that he believes to be happening, which again, keep in mind, this happened when I was 17, and I'm just finding this out now at age soon to be 44, is that he said you likely have neurotoxicity and your body is irreparably damaged and aging is going to be terrible, is literally what he told me. I was like, okay. As I told you all, I trust my oncologist to give it to me straight. But, lately he's really been lacking in a bedside manner. And fortunately, I'm a tough cookie. I've heard really tough feedback before. So it jolted me out of my pity pool, which is the thing that I love about me. Because for me, I'm so stubborn that when a system is telling me, you have neurotoxicity and you have a million diseases and like aging is going to be painful, then what I do is I say, okay, well, I'm going to take charge of this stuff that I can, and I'm going to dig my heels in so hard. I'm going to heal so radically that I'm just going to, I'm going to blow it out of the water. And, again, it's a fine line because I have to be careful. There's a lot of things that I can't control, but guess what? There's a lot of things that I can. And so I am back on my healing. I have gotten a Ninja blender. I've gotten my greens, my berries. And if this is something you're all interested in, I'm happy to post on my Patreon, like I don't really follow recipes, but I just listen to what my body likes. And so I've kind of found some green smoothies that work for me that are also really simple because if I'm looking at a recipe and there's more than 5 steps, I'm out. I have a limited amount of energy and I just don't enjoy cooking. So I'm not going to spend it doing that or baking or whatever, but I will invest in my health and, making smoothies that takes, 5 minutes. I'm going to do that. I this week am committing to joining a gym, which woof. And this is the part where when I was in my pity pool, I'm like, "Oh, this is so unfair. I'm so tired and I'm in pain all the time and now I have to work out." And it's like, "Yeah, okay. Well, that's at least you get to work out. At least, I'm not in a wheelchair or unable to, function. So it's time that I start remembering some gratitude for, the good things that I do have going on." And so joining a gym is my least favorite thing ever. I hate it so much, but that is what I'm going to do because nothing in my body works properly. And so I need to be as strong and as healthy as I can physically be. One of the things that I want to talk to you all about is truly in this world where women are not only undervalued, they are fully under attack. Pretty much everyone is under attack, I guess, except for white men or politicians. I don't know. I mean, it just feels like so many people are impacted except a very small group. But I just feel that for me, I've learned resistance. The best form of resistance is radical self care, radical self compassion, understanding that just because there are people in this world who don't see my value doesn't mean my value doesn't exist. And I'll give you an example. So, RFK believes that people who have cancer should be culled from the herd. He truly believes that. Google it. He believes that people who have medical issues, which is odd because for someone who has a self admitted worm that's eaten through his brain, you'd think he'd have a little bit more compassion, but I don't know. I guess maybe that worm just ate it all up. Oh, maybe that's how I can get rid of my empathy. I can just get a brain worm. I'm feeling very sassy today. But so RFK believes that people like me, we should be culled from the herd. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of people espoused that too. In fact, I had people online who told me that I had cancer and I was going through treatment, so I should just die. And, there are always going to be people that have told me historically that my life isn't valuable nor important. And I'm here to finally say that it is. My value isn't determined based on what terrible people think, it's based on what I think and what the people who love me think. I mean, it's mostly what I think, but also the people who love me. And so if this is resonating with you, good. This is what this pep talk is all about. Our inherent value isn't determined by other people. So it's time to start prioritizing us, prioritizing our bodies, our minds, our souls, our spirituality. All of it is to be the best human being, the happiest, the healthiest, the most well adjusted human being that you can be. That is the best method of resistance. And so, what I'm going to share with you all is some things that I am learning to do differently when it comes to, you know, making real changes. Because the fact is, people who have had a history of trauma, our neural pathways are extremely deep. It's what I call our factory default setting. So, my factory default setting is not to be compassionate towards myself. In fact, quite the opposite. And so, in times when I'm in the pity pool and when I'm stressed out, my brain is hijacked. I'm really not able to say these things that I'm saying now. So, it's important for me to say them, not only to myself, but to you all when I get out of that pool, when I come back around, because it's so important. And so, what I want everyone listening to this today to realize is that you are worthy, you are valuable. I don't care what society says, I don't care what this administration says. You are worthy, you are important, you are valuable. Okay. And so, taking care of yourself is crucial. And for me, that means feeding my body appropriately. As I mentioned in the past, I struggled with food issues because, I was afraid that everything I ate would cause me judgment from people or disrupt my health issues. And so for me, one of the greatest acts of resistance is appropriately nourishing my body. Think of it as a literal FU to the patriarchy. because that's what I'm doing, and it's working swimmingly. Donut, yes, screw the patriarchy. Ice cream, absolutely. And honestly, nourishing your body is giving yourself treats in addition to nourishing food. I have learned through my recovery in all ways is that my danger lies in being black and white, right? And saying, well, I'm going to nourish my body, but I'm only going to give it, plant-based healthy things. Well, plant-based healthy things are great, and that's what I need. But I also need ice cream and brownies. And I'm not going to be on my deathbed saying, thank God I didn't have that scoop of ice cream. No one, I'm not going to say that. So for me, it's finding a balance between what nourishes my soul and what nourishes my body. The second thing is movement. Movement for me has become absolutely imperative. And that's one thing in the winter that I really struggle with is movement. For me, yes, I have chronic fatigue, I have chronic pain, but that is not an excuse. I've got to move. And so part of getting out of the pity pool is being tough on myself and saying, all right, listen, bitch, let's get it moving. Let's take a walk. And again, starting at a pace that works for me. Even if you get up off of your couch right now and you walk around wherever you live, you do some lunges, you just get some blood pumping, I guarantee you feel better. Because when my body wants to lay all the time, I have to act opposite. There comes that the best advice, but also it's so annoying to act opposite. But I have to act opposite because I know the more I lay, the worse it's going to get. And it feels counterintuitive, but I have to do it. So if it feels counterintuitive to you, just do it because your mind and your body will thank you later. The other thing for me that is extremely imperative is connection. I've been talking a lot about with the housewives and how, at the end of the day, all we really need is love, support, and connectedness. And, for me, I always lived feeling very alone and very unsupported and not trusting people. And now having people in my life who, by the way, include you all. You all support me more than my own family. So I feel that, it's learning to reframe what support looks like. I think, a long time ago, people used to just kind of like poo poo internet dating or meeting people on the internet. And I've met some of the greatest human beings of you all on the internet. And I've never met you in real life, but I consider you supports. And I hope you consider me the same. It's redefining what support and connection looks like. Okay, so if your family doesn't provide it, okay, this community does, or your friends do, or someone who's a chosen family does. And so it's finding the rooms that you belong in. Don't go into rooms that you don't belong in anymore, number one. And number two, find the people where you belong no matter what, where you belong if you are dysthymic. And dysthymia is, like Eeyore. The thing about Eeyore that I always loved is that, Christopher Robin and Piglet, they never judged Eeyore. They just loved him, even when he was dysthymic, which is just a fancy word for, sad, depressed, things like that. And so you got to find your Piglet. You got to find your Christopher Robin. Also, very funny side note here. When my mom was pregnant with me, she had names picked out for if I was a girl and if I was a boy. And if I was a boy, she was sincerely going to name me Christopher Robin. Could you imagine growing up in the 80s and 90s with a name like Christopher Robin from Winnie the Pooh? I would have been bullied for 100,000 years. And so I think that it was, being a Melissa for me is a beautiful thing. I just thought you all would enjoy that story. So, I just think that the message is that you got to feel to heal. Number one. Number two, there's no bridge over healing. Number three, it's hard work, but it's worth every single step. And all you got to do is take one step at a time, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, sometimes 1 minute at a time, sometimes 1 second at a time. Whatever I do, I cannot allow myself to be so hardened and cold and angry and bitter because of what is going on in the world, because ultimately that just takes away my peace, my joy, my light. So I am choosing to be the light in the world that I want to see. I am choosing to go out into the world and to be happy and pleasant and hold doors and have conversations and be kind and show my humanity in the smallest but most important of ways. And that is what I'm choosing to do. And so I'm just so happy to be sharing this with you all because, I get it. I get how hard it is. I get how challenging things are. And I just get life is hard. And unfortunately, nobody ever said life was fair. No one ever promised that life was fair. Life isn't fair, and fairness isn't owed to any of us. And just because I have a chronic incurable cancer, I'm not special. I'm not. I'm not special in any way, shape, or form. Everyone is dealing with a battle that none of us know anything about. And mine isn't more important than yours. And for me, this is where my gratitude and I get my feet firmly planted on the ground. And for me, this is where I feel the most powerful and strong and empowered. And the last thing I'll say on that note is that literally putting my feet on the ground is so important in terms of grounding. When we are worrying, when we are doing all of these things that give us this false sense of control, once you take that false sense of control away and you ground yourself into the here and now, you realize this isn't so scary. It's not so bad. And so part of grounding is just feeling my feet on the ground. Grounding says looking around, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you feel in your body? And what it does is it takes away all that noise of thinking about the past or thinking about the future. Because when you're doing that, what you're not is in the present. And so for me, my happiness, I've learned lies in the present moment, right? If I look to my future and I think about aging is going to be terrible, I'm going to be so anxious that I'm not going to be able to, I don't know, survive, thrive. I don't know, but that is not going to help me. And if I spend too much time looking at my past, there's anger, resentment, right? So it's visiting the past, looking into the future, those are fine, but we have to live in the here and now. And that's what I have learned. So this is going to be it for me today. I just wanted you all to hear my voice, my happiness, my joy, my hope, my positivity, my true positivity that's emanating from my soul and isn't toxic and isn't dismissive. And this is just, again, this is the best act of resistance, is just using my platform, using my voice, my very loud voice, to advocate for myself and others and to help people in larger ways. And that's the interesting thing, is that people like RFK believe that, I should be cold. But look at what I do, right? The other day on Instagram, I got a couple of messages from old clients who found me, and I'm not going to be specific, but really both let me know that I was the only therapist they ever had that heard them and validated and made them feel whole and supported. And for me, I can die happy knowing that whenever my time comes, I've done real good work. I've helped people survive depression, suicidality, disordered eating, all of these things. I've helped people survive and learn to thrive when they didn't think that they could. And so what a gift that is for me. And now to have this platform where I can do it and I just have thousands of voices that I'm speaking to instead of just one. And here's the thing, that's not important. It's not the number of people that I'm reaching. It's just the fact that I'm reaching people that, I get messages all the time, thank you for discussing this. This helps me realize this. This helps me understand this. It makes me feel heard. That is what brings me joy and keeps me going. And if I go into the dark stuff, into the heavy stuff, I lose my ability to really help people in the ways that I feel I'm here to do. Have gotten 25 extra years. I wasn't supposed to survive my first cancer. And so all this extra time, I've committed my life to helping other people never feel like I had to feel, or at least helping people heal from that. And so for me, what a gift this is, being a therapist, having this platform, becoming your Bish therapist. It's just, the greatest joy of my life. And I'm so honored to be here to do it. And I'm so honored to have you here with me. And I really hope that today's episode has helped. I know it's helped me. So onward and upward, I will continue to use my very loud voice to advocate for myself and others, to resist patriarchal BS, to resist all these systemic ways that people are trying to put their thumb on humans. And we're just not going to let it happen. And guess what? If RFK does have these wellness camps and puts me in one and takes away my psychotropic medication, well, join my camp because I will lead us in a motherfucking revolution. Okay? Bloop. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you always for holding space. And, I just appreciate you all so much. Stay tuned for lots more wonderful episodes. Can't wait to cover The Valley, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Atlanta. There's just so much going on. Also, in addition to Scamanda and Belle Gibson, I am thinking about covering Gypsy Rose, Life After Lockup Season 2, because I've seen a couple of episodes and it's wild. It is wild, and there is a lot for me to interpret there. So I think I might do that. But as always, please let me know, give me your feedback, and I appreciate that. So love to you and yours. Ta-ta for now. Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greatheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT Podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, hear on YBT Podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.